Okay, let's think about building materials for a second. Stone is ancient, obviously, but right behind it, there's clay. It's everywhere. People have used it for millennia.
Absolutely. From the simplest mud huts to, well, much more complex structures, it's incredibly versatile.
And that versatility really sets the stage for our deep dive today. We're heading to Bengal, a region where this humble material, clay, was elevated into something truly extraordinary.
It really is remarkable, taking something literally under our feet, common earth, and turning it into profound artistic and architectural statements. It speaks volumes about human creativity.
It does indeed. And that leads us straight to the Terracotta Temples of Bengal.
Mm.
Our mission, our goal today, is to sort of trace the whole story of these amazing structures.
From the raw clay itself.
Right, from the dirt, basically,
Yeah.
all the way to the incredibly sophisticated art they became famous for. We'll dig into the history, the design, the stories these temples tell us about ancient Bengal.
And hopefully you'll get a real sense of why they're so unique, so important. A genuine treasure.
Exactly. We'll see how this simple baked earth managed to capture history, culture, just preserve it for centuries.
Some of India's most distinctive monuments, really.
So let's start at the beginning. The earth, clay. It's this fundamental gift, isn't it?
Yeah.
So abundant everywhere. It shaped how people lived, the kinds of shelters they built, all based on what the local soil was like.
And the core idea is that simplicity. Raw clay, it's heavy, it's dark, you can mold it. But the game changer, the real aha moment, was firing it, baking it.
Ah, yes. That changes everything.
Completely. Suddenly you have permanence. That heavy, shapeless stuff becomes terracotta. It's lighter, way more durable, and crucially, it can hold really fine detail. That was huge for building for art.
And Bengal is where this potential just exploded, you could say. Terracotta didn't just become popular there, it defined a whole architectural style.
That's the key point. For the first time, local building styles, things often made from, bamboo, thatch, materials that rot away, they could be translated into lasting structures using this baked clay.
So they weren't just copying stone temples from elsewhere.
Not entirely. They were creating something distinctively Bengali. Monuments that reflected local traditions but gave them permanence. It's a fantastic example of local innovation, taking a universal material and making it culturally specific, deeply profound.
A regional voice captured in earth.
You got it. It wasn't just about sturdy buildings. It was about expressing identity, connecting to the place, using what was readily available. And it gave them this amazing canvas for storytelling.
Okay, so if we want to see this storytelling canvas at its absolute peak, where do we look?
You have to look at Bishnupur. It's in the Bankura district. Bishnupur just, well, it blossomed. It became this incredible hub, a monumental center for Hindu terracotta art.
Like an open-air museum made of clay.
That's a good way to put it. And a really striking thing about the Bishnupur temples is how the facades are just covered, covered in figurative sculptures.
Not just a little bit here and there.
Oh, no. We're talking dense decoration, often on all four sides. Sometimes the carving even continues inside the temple. It's meant to be immersive.
Wow. So aesthetically stunning, clearly. But what was the deeper point? Why cover them so elaborately?
That's really important. These weren't just pretty decorations. They often drew themes from the Puranas, the ancient epics, and the style often echoed the classical Gupta aesthetic.
Okay.
So they served a vital role in education. Think of them as visual scriptures. For people who maybe couldn't read, this was how they learned the stories, the traditions, the culture.
Ah, I see. Like a giant public storybook built into the temple walls.
Exactly. Imagine seeing your history, your myths unfolding right there where you worship. It's powerful stuff.
So religious education was key. But was it only about myths and gods?
No, and that's another fascinating layer. The decorations also show scenes from contemporary life back then. Court life, musicians, dancers, ordinary village activities.
Really, so glimpses of everyday reality, too.
Absolutely. And they also served another purpose, expressing the power and ambitions of the people who commissioned the temples, usually local rulers or wealthy patrons.
Right, building a temple like this wasn't cheap.
Definitely not. It was a huge investment of money and artistic talent. So the temples became public statements, reflecting who was in charge, what society valued. You see beliefs, stories, power dynamics all etched into the clay.
That's incredible. To really get the full picture, though, we need to understand the history, the timeline that led to this unique Bengali style. You mentioned earlier that before the 14th century, Bengal's temples were linked to broader Indian traditions.
That's right. There's a connection to styles across northern and eastern India in the earlier periods. We can generally divide the history of Bengal's religious architecture into three main phases.
Okay, what are they?
First, you have the early Hindu period running up to about the end of the 12th century. Then comes the Sultanate period that's roughly the 14th to the early 16th century. And finally, the Hindu revival period from the 16th right through to the 19th century.
And each period brought changes.
Big changes. Shifts in who was paying for the temples, the materials used, the styles that were popular.
You mentioned a sharp break coinciding with the Muslim conquest. What exactly happened then? How did it impact the temples?
Well, traditional Hindu temple building definitely saw a downturn, but something new emerged. Muslim patrons arrived with different tastes. They really favored covering entire walls with these intricate terracotta plaques.
So the focus shifted to surface decoration.
Very much so. But what's really interesting is they didn't completely ditch the local artistic vocabulary. You still see traditional motifs like the lotus being incorporated into these new designs. It was a period that really honed the craft of terracotta as surface decoration. It kind of paved the way for what came next.
So not a total replacement, but maybe a reinterpretation, a fusion.
Fusion is a good word. And by the late 16th century, this fusion had really matured. A distinctly Bengali style of temple architecture and sculpture was born. It wasn't just about aesthetics, it reflected big social, religious, cultural changes. It embraced change while holding on to continuity.
A real synthesis then.
A beautiful synthesis, creating something totally new and original out of diverse influences.
Let's talk about the people who actually made these incredible things. The artisans. Our sources mention the Acharyas and Sutradharas. Who were they?
These were the traditional artist castes in Bengal. The Acharyas were often linked more to, say, scholarly or spiritual knowledge, while the Sutradharas were the master craftspeople, the architects, the sculptors, the ones translating ideas into clay.
The hand-on creators.
Exactly. And what's so valuable is that their work, these terracotta plaques, they give us insights into Bengali culture that we don't always find in written texts from the time. The visual art really supports and adds to the literary records. It fills in gaps.
That's fascinating. And their inspiration wasn't just from books or rules.
No, and that's vital. They knew the rules, the traditional canons from texts like the Shilpa Shastras, ancient guides to art and architecture. But crucially, they were also keen observers of life around them.
Watching people, daily activities.
Yes. That grounding in reality, blended with tradition, is what gives the art such life, such authenticity. And over time, these Sutradharas became incredibly versatile, working not just in clay, but also stone, ivory, metal, highly skilled, highly respected artists.
Okay, shifting to the buildings themselves, you mentioned Bengali temples are different from typical Indian ones. Like, they don't usually have that sequence of halls, the Bhagnadapa, Natmandapa, Garbhagriha leading to the inner sanctum.
That's right. It's a major difference. It suggests maybe a different way of designing the space, perhaps a different flow for worship. Instead of that long approach through separate halls, Bengali temples often feel more direct, more intimate.
So structurally, what do we see?
Primarily, you find square or rectangular chambers, sometimes octagonal, often with corridors or porches attached. The spaces inside are usually covered with vaults or domes, and they tend to be relatively small in scale.
And the walls, are they massive like stone temples?
Generally, no. The walls are usually quite slender, maybe 75 to 125 centimeters thick, which is pretty thin compared to stone construction.
But there are exceptions.
There are, like at Kudla, where you find these huge brick walls, almost 3 meters thick. They were clearly trying to imitate the look and feel of massive stonework there. Another subtle difference is what architects call axiality.
Axiality.
Yeah, that strong directional line or axis you often feel in other Indian temples, guiding you straight towards the main deity. In Bengal's terracotta temples, that feeling is often much more subdued, contributing to that intimate atmosphere we mentioned.
It really makes you appreciate the skill involved. Adapting ideas from stone, like pillars, into brick must have been tricky.
Absolutely. They often use pillars with triple arches, especially on the facades. These were clearly based on stone pillars from the earlier Palestina period, which had its own distinct style.
So a nod to the past.
Definitely. They kept features like the square bases and capitals you'd see on stone pillars, showing that continuity, but translating it to brick required real ingenuity. And the surface brickwork itself is where the mastery truly shows.
How so?
The craftsmen used different types of bricks. Long, thin ones laid on edge to create frames, little triangular bricks to fill spaces, and flat plaques, of course, for the main figurative scenes.
So specialized bricks for specific jobs.
Precisely. And they were cut and fitted together with incredible care, interlocking perfectly. The goal was often to create a pseudo-effect of stone construction. It required immense precision.
Wow, so not just copying stone, but cleverly recreating its visual weight and structure using a different medium.
Yeah.
And the art itself shifted too, less abstract.
Yes, there was a definite move towards large-scale figurative art. Telling stories visually became paramount. Earlier traditions might have focused more on non-figurative patterns, but here the emphasis is on figures, on narrative,
And the compositions.
often very crowded, not just within a single panel, but across the whole facade. Lots of figures interacting, creating dynamic scenes. This allowed for much richer storytelling, bringing those epics and daily life scenes right to the forefront.
It really paints a vivid picture. Which brings us back to the legacy. These temples offer, as the sources say, a faithful picture of Bengali life, captured with this dynamic natural technique. Translating local forms into permanent materials was revolutionary.
It really was, preserving culture, architecture, stories for centuries. What's fascinating is how the principles behind using this ancient material, terracotta, still echo today.
What do you mean, in modern building?
Yeah. Think about traditional brick making. It uses a lot of energy, it can deplete topsoil, but today there are innovations. Things like perforated bricks, bricks with lots of holes in them, maybe 50–60% hollow.
Okay, what's the advantage?
Several things. They insulate better against heat and sound.
Mm.
They use less clay, obviously. They dry faster and need less fuel to fire. Plus, because they can be made larger, masons can build walls quicker.
So more sustainable and efficient.
Exactly. You see these kinds of terracotta clay hollow blocks being used in architecture today, especially down in southern India. It feels like a direct line back to those ancient skills, adapting the material for modern needs.
That's amazing. That connection between ancient craft and modern sustainable design.
It really is. It shows the enduring value of local materials and ingenuity, something Bengal's temple builders demonstrated so brilliantly centuries ago.
What an incredible journey we've been on today. From basic earth, just clay, all the way to these incredibly detailed, story-filled architectural wonders in Bengal. It's just mind-blowing, really.
It is how something so common, so fundamental, could be transformed into something so extraordinary, so lasting.
It's more than just art or religion, isn't it?
I think so. It's a testament to that deep human drive, that impulse to take the ordinary and make it extraordinary, to leave behind stories, even silent ones, baked in clay, for future generations to find.
Silent stories. I like that. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What other everyday materials are all around us, just waiting for that spark of creativity to turn them into something monumental, something unexpected?
A fascinating thought to ponder. What hidden potential lies in the commonplace?